I the a-hole for leaving my sister stranded at a restaurant after she brought my dad? I, 30 male, have a complicated history with my dad. I'll call him Jake, and haven't seen him in over 11 years. When I was 13, the biggest family secret came out that ended my parents' marriage and my relationship with him. All thanks to my mom who cheated, got pregnant, and passed me off as his. We all found out, and like a switch went off, Jake wanted nothing to do with me at all. They got divorced. My older sister was his, so he only fought for custody of her. He was horrible to me when this first came out. As if it was my fault. And for a long time, I did think that. In fact, it took years of therapy to stop feeling like it was all my fault. For a long time after it came out, I did everything to be in Jake's life like he was in my sister's. He never held back telling me looking at me makes him sick, and it was never my dad. Telling this to a 14-year-old. My last attempt was when I was around 18. By then, Jake had gotten remarried. His new wife was pregnant, and I convinced my sister to bring me to the baby shower hoping to talk to him. Big mistake. He flipped on me outside, and it was the most humiliating and hurtful moment of my life. Jake told me to go find my real dad and stop bothering him. That was it for me, and we didn't speak again. Now I get it. He was cheated on, he was hurt, and I'm a reminder of the biggest betrayal of his life. The affair kid. But I was also human with feelings. Took time, but I forgot about him with lots of therapy. Still close with my sister, but she keeps her relationship with him separate from ours. Except for now. He got sick from COVID last year, and I guess that was his come to Jesus moment. Now he's suddenly interested. But for me, the damage is done, and I've turned that chapter in my life. Have my wife and family. A father-in-law who's loved me and treated me like his own for years. So I've denied seeing him. But because now he wants to, my sister keeps trying to set it up. Earlier this week, she tried to surprise me with him at the restaurant where we were having lunch. I got up and left without saying anything to him. I was caught off guard, so the only thing going on in my mind is, I gotta get out. My sister came with me, so that means I was her ride and just left her there. And my sister's really mad about me leaving. His wife dropped him off, and it was gonna be a while for her to come back since she had appointments. But the point is, they ended up being there way longer than expected. On top of that, she got to work late since the plan was for me to drive her back after eating. Not sure if she's actually mad that I left her, or that I didn't stay to eat with Jake. But yeah, she does think I was an a-hole for taking off like that. Not totally sure if I was, since I've made it clear we are done, but at the same time I did leave her without a ride. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. What your sister did was wrong. She should not have sprung him on you after all the trauma he had caused. If she had told you he was coming and you had agreed, then you would have been the a-hole. But you didn't know he was going to be there. That wasn't the plan, and she did not ask if you were comfortable with it. She honestly should have expected you were going to be overwhelmed. I'm sorry you went through that, and I'm glad to hear you have a loving family. She knows I wouldn't have gone at all, so that's why she didn't tell me. It was painful as hell, believe me. I'm just grateful to have found a wonderful family with my wife. Not the a-hole. Your sister is the a-hole here. She's the one you had a present-day ongoing relationship with, and she betrayed your trust. Don't let her talk you into thinking you owed her a ride after the stunt she pulled. As they say, play stupid games, etc., etc. You didn't leave them stranded on the side of the road during a thunderstorm. You left them in a nice restaurant after you were ambushed. They had plenty of time to have a nice meal while waiting for an Uber or something. OP, you panicked and left. You had to have years of therapy to get to a more comfortable place, and good for you for doing the work and marrying well. Your dad may have had a come-to-Jesus moment, but you, OP, you don't have to care. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Proverbial stupid game/prizes moment for your sister. You may want to rethink your relationship with your sister, since she appears to have picked up a lot more of her father's personality and attitudes than you may have previously known. Her reaction was to deflect and blame you for the situation, rather than apologize. A rather telling reflex. You didn't leave her stranded. She tried to manipulate you for her father's sake, not yours. She was late for work because she assumed that you would be easily manipulated into staying, that you were as desperate as you were when you were a teen to have a relationship. Also, her real motive was probably even more selfish. She wanted to be the hero and peacemaker between you and her father, so she could tell everyone how she finally mended the relationship and take social media credit for attention. You owe her father nothing, including an opportunity to apologize or explain. You don't owe him anything. Walking away was not an a-hole move. It was the most polite and reasonable thing you could have done. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my homeless sister a place to stay? My sister's husband left her for someone else. The house they lived in was inherited by him years before she met him, and there was never any mortgage on it. In our jurisdiction, this means it isn't part of the marital property or the divorce process, so she isn't entitled to the house or any of the equity in the divorce. Her husband was able to get a court order to evict her from the homes, and she was lawfully evicted. She will get half of their savings account, but that will all go to her legal fees apparently. She isn't eligible for alimony, he isn't rich, and it's not a factor. I haven't had contact with my sister since 2016. She was the one who cut off contact. She got contact because my husband is a police officer. She doesn't like the police. She's never contacted or spoken to my husband even once. She hated that I was dating a police officer, and when he proposed, she said if I married him, she would never speak to me again. There was no other reason for her not to like him besides his job, but she is the type that posts quotes and statements on social media, but she never does any activism beyond that. That was the last time I saw or heard from her, until she recently showed up at my house asking to stay because her husband left her and had her evicted. Our parents can't take her in because they just moved into a retirement condo community. Only residents can live there, and you have to be over 50. They aren't struggling, but they can't afford to help her after their own rent/fees/bills. When she cut me off, my parents said I should be able to marry whoever I want, but at the same time, I should be sensitive to why my sister is upset and see her point of view. I have no other relatives besides my parents and sister, and I don't really visit my parents, and I talk to them on the phone about once a month. I am in an industry where I can't work from home, and where things are still closed because of the pandemic. I have been laid off from my job until things reopen. The business is not gone and the industry will be back, but I've been unemployed since last March. I have done some freelancing, but my husband is the breadwinner right now. My sister, who hates my husband even though she's never had contact with him, came to my house after her eviction wanting to stay with us. She said my husband makes enough that we can't afford to have her stay rent-free and support her, and have her eat our food, use our internet, etc., and that we owe it to her. I can't believe her nerve, and I told her no, and said if she comes back, I'll call the police on her for trespassing. She called me an a-hole and a terrible sibling, and she wouldn't stop calling or texting me until I blocked her. She is staying at a shelter or outside if there are no beds available now. Am I really being too hard on her? Am I the a-hole and a bad sibling for refusing to take her in when she is homeless? Not the a-hole. Absolutely do not give in to this. Evictions take time as do divorce settlements. She knew this was happening and made no plans, got no job, and clearly made bad decisions. I don't believe for 1 second she agreed to a settlement that was only enough to pay legal fees. She spent all her money, or doesn't want to, wasted months she could have been getting employment at her own place, with the intention to leech off of someone she clearly doesn't even like. Ignore her. Just to provide clarity, they are not divorced yet. Legally separated and the divorce will be finalized soon, but it has not happened yet. Her insistence that you owe her despite her continued refusal to apologize makes you not the a-hole. She can deal with the consequences of her own actions in alienating you. Right there. Ignoring that her sister declined to speak to Opie over the spouse being a cop that she has never in her life met, she's still the a-hole. As soon as she said that she was owed anything, it's entirely appropriate to tell her to screw herself while she waits for a bed. I help people when I can because I feel like it's the right thing to do. But when someone feels entitled to my aid without treating me with even the most basic of common courtesies, I'm not interested. Not the a-hole. She cut off contact and killed the relationship, not you. She can't now expect you to live off the guy she cut you out over. That's not how life works. She now knows why you don't burn bridges you may have to cross later. You don't owe her anything, Opie. Not the a-hole. You owe her nothing. Also, based on her behavior, If you let her stay, you might not be able to kick her out without getting your own court order to evict her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for providing statement to police after brother stole from me? Backstory. My brother, 30 male, has been struggling with addiction since he was 15 years old. He still lives at home with my father. Him and I, 33 male, have always had a shaky relationship. My other two brothers and my mom want nothing to do with him. I placed an order paid in full on April 20 at Home Depot. On April 23, I was arrested. I was released on June 21. I went to Home Depot on June 22 for my order, and they informed me that my order was released to my younger brother on May 27. She even called my brother right in front of me, and I heard him confirm that he did pick it up. Luckily, I had recorded a majority of the convo he just had with a rep, so there was no denying it. He says he already sold the product. I told him I wanted my money. He agreed and said on Friday he would pay me. Friday comes and he says he's not going to give it to me anymore, that it's not his fault that Home Depot gave it to him. I told him that he had until Monday to give me the money, and he didn't say anything else. On Wednesday, I filed a chargeback with my bank, who said that they would not approve the chargeback unless a police report was filed, and I gave a statement. I told them I would think about it and get back to them. Later in the day, Home Depot calls me and says they want to avoid a chargeback, and they would refund me my money under the same circumstances the bank was asking. A few hours later, I get a call from a detective asking me for a statement, so I cooperated. The detective let me know that she first contacted my brother to give him the opportunity to just repay the money, but he refused to even give a statement. Now my dad is telling me that I am the a-hole for cooperating, that I know how it is to be in jail, and why would I want to send my little brother to such a place? I see it this way. I didn't ask him to steal my product. I just want my money back. And since he refused to give it to me, I simply did what I needed to do to protect my interests. Shortly after giving my statement, Home Depot notified me that my refund had been issued. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole for reporting to police, as it seems the only way to get your much-needed cash expediently, but I can't help but think there are about 1,000 things being left unsaid here. Yes, you're correct. There's a ton more to the story. I tried to hit all of the most relevant stuff though. He's been to rehab 4 to 5 times, but has always checked himself out after a few weeks. He's never been forced to make a lifestyle change because my dad is the biggest enabler on earth and provides my brother with a home, food, and most importantly, a safe and comfortable place to get and be high. All for free, of course. Info. Why did Home Depot give your stuff to your brother? I feel like most places would have put your stuff back on the shelves and refunded you after 2 weeks. Also, they are only supposed to release the items to you or someone who you specifically designate as an alternate. Well, both my brother and I are sellers in Amazon. I can only speak for myself. I spend $20,000+ a month on various products from Home Depot that I resell, and I think my brother does somewhere around the same. We do not work together, nor do we sell any of the same products. However, anytime either one of us places a new order, 95% of the time the order is placed through the same Pro Extra Desk representative. I've been working with her for about 8 years now, and my brother maybe 4 years, and have built a great rapport with her. My brother took advantage of their relationship and her trust. He told her I had been arrested and said that I had called him asking him to help me out and pick up my product and fulfill my orders, which could not be further from the truth. It kind of was Home Depot's mistake, but I understand why they released the order to him. Not the a-hole. He committed a crime and should be punished for it. He's probably stolen hundreds of times before and thought that because you are family, you'd let him get away with it. Good on you for following through. Yes, thank you. He's literally stolen from me at least 10 times in the past 5 years. It even broke into my place last year. Took several and broke several other things. All because he gets high and paranoid. I've never done anything about it before because it's always been stuff worth no more than a couple $100. I'm sure he thought he could get away with it this time too, but I'm not willing to let several $1,000s go. I mean, he could have just asked for it, and I would have very willingly give it to him. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take care of my boyfriend's brother? My boyfriend and I have been together for just over a year. 4 months into our relationship, he brought me to meet his mom and brother who is autistic. He told me in advance about his brother, but I assumed he would be like my ex who was a little social awkward but lived a normal life. I was shocked when I met him, as it seemed he was at a 10-year-old's mental development. He had a meltdown during dinner, and I could see how stressed his mom was at having to deal with us. We talked after we drove back, and he told me his mom was planning on sending him to a group home, as she is getting older and would soon be no longer able to take care of him. I thought nothing more about this. But last week, his mom had a health scare, and she asked him to take his brother. Both his parents are in poor health at this point, so likely this will be semi-permanent. He told me the plan had changed, and he would have to take his brother in. I'm not sure why, because everyone is getting shots and the numbers are down, but he explained there's currently an insane 2-year waiting list for an entry to a group home. He wants me to take care of his brother as he works 12 hours a day out of the house. I work from home permanently, but I know my work would be disrupted if his brother had a meltdown. So I moved back to my old place with my roommates, as I had just moved out for 3 months and they hadn't found a new roommate yet. My boyfriend is mad because now he has no way of working and taking care of his brother and thinks I'm being sympathetic to his problems. But I don't want to take care of him, especially when it would affect my work. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to care for my boyfriend's brother? Not the a-hole. I'm sympathetic to the fact that your boyfriend needs to figure out how to take care of his brother in short notice. But deciding, without any discussion, that you are going to watch him 12 hours a day is ridiculous. If it was an hour here and there, I would go you're the a-hole because sometimes you just have to bite a bullet. But 60 to 80 hours a week? No, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. If he wants to take in his brother, I admire him for it. However, it sounds like he was about to lay 100% of the responsibility on you. It is not your responsibility. You cannot work from home and take care of his brother too. It's not realistic, and most jobs wouldn't allow it. A lot of work-from-home jobs won't allow you to even have kids at home and require proof of outside daycare to ensure there are no interruptions on the time they are paying you for. Your boyfriend needs to figure out how to take care of his brother on his own. Not the a-hole. It's annoying me that so many comments are she's not trying to do the job, when the absolute only correct response is, it's totally inappropriate and unacceptable for a man to expect his girlfriend to take over the care of a relative. We don't have to say because of her job or because she's not trained, but because the mere fact of it is insane. Edit. For the confused, he didn't ask. He told OP that he expected her to care for the brother. That's the deal breaker.
Am I the a-hole for telling my ex's sterile affair partner to have her own daughter if she wants to share cheerleading with one? My ex, 44 male, cheated on me, 40 female, and ended our marriage so he could be with his affair partner / wife, Jen, 42 female. This happened several years ago when our kids were very young. My ex gets our kids 6 days a month. He works out of state frequently, so this was the most consistent schedule where our kids would be with a parent, me or ex, instead of being left with a babysitter or his wife. According to my ex and Jen, she is sterile and can never have kids. I never ask, but they offered this up in hopes I would share the kids with her more and encourage them to embrace Jen as their second mom. I have not done this, and I have told them we are not friends, and they're not to expect favors from me after going behind my back and doing what they did. Jen was someone I knew before learning the truth. She was dating someone in my ex's friend circle and made a point to get to know me. I found out why after. She was expecting us being friends would help me not to hate her afterward. I bring all this up because of what's currently going on. Jen was a big cheerleader in her youth and volunteers with local cheer groups. She wants my daughter, 10, to get involved in cheer. My daughter told me about it the other week because Jen was trying to make her go and my ex was backing Jen on it. She told me she didn't want to and she needed my help. All the kids are aware of the fact stuff like that has to be agreed on by both me and their dad. I reached out and told my ex our daughter will not be put into cheer against her will and that he needs to stop pressuring her to join. He didn't respond back the way he's supposed to, through the app, so I noted his reply on the app and got a lot of cussing back. Jen tried to call me but I didn't answer. She approached me a few days later while we were in the same store and she told me I can't keep punishing her by depriving her of my children. She said she's been in their lives since they were little, and she has every right to bond with them and share stuff with them like that. I told her she does not get to force my kids into stuff like that against their will. I walked away, and she followed me around for a bit and told me how it was her dream to share cheer with a daughter and all the crap that I don't care about. I told her she should have a daughter of her own if she wants to share it, and leave mine alone. She stopped following me after that, and I heard from my ex a few times after, saying I was cruel to say that to her when I know she can't have children. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I love it when people think they can force kids to do stuff. Forget adding the affair into the mix. I don't know everything about the app you mentioned, but you might want to add what happened at the grocery store. Keep documenting the harassment and pressure they're putting on you and your kids. They can figure out a different way to play house. Absolutely. Kids should never be pressured like that, especially when they've already said no. Adding the grocery store incident to the app is smart. It's always good to have a clear record of what's happening. They should know that children are not extensions of themselves or tools to fulfill their own unmet needs or desires. Not a-hole. Not only was your ex a trash husband, he's also a trash father for allowing his affair partner/wife to inflict her motherly desires on your children. It's been a problem in so many ways. It's all documented though, so at least when the kids get to a certain age, if they want to see him less, I'll have documented proof of the problems. You and your children owe this woman nothing. Good on you for protecting them. As a cheer mom for almost a decade, do not allow her to push your daughter into cheer if she's not interested. It's a dangerous sport, and one of those where you either love it or hate it. My daughter was the former and went hard until she graduated. She got injured so much. Oh, and it's wildly expensive. Not the a-hole. I heard from the others the expense is crazy. The risks of injury are worrying too. It makes me glad my daughter has no interest because I'd worry about her being hurt badly. I'm sorry your daughter suffered so many injuries from it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for protecting my sister-in-law who cheated on my brother? 2 years ago, our family was caught in a huge drama. My sister-in-law had a month-long affair with someone from her night courses. At that time, my brother was absolutely destroyed, and he wanted to divorce her. It was hell for almost 3 months, but he ultimately decided to stay married to her and work through it in counseling. I wasn't a fan of that idea, but it's his life. I think he stayed mostly for their kid, but I honestly think it's been terrible for him. Since then, everything has been miserable. My parents openly hate her now. She has stopped coming to family gatherings because it's outright hostile to her. Their kid still comes around, but my mother often badmouths her in front of him. He's only 3, and it's confusing for him. My brother and I went on a road trip recently to pick up our grandmother and bring her to my parents' house for the holidays. It was 4 hours there and 4 hours back. During the drive, he started talking about the rules they have in their marriage now. Here's what he told me. Sister-in-law has to come straight home after work. She can only go out if he's with her. He inspects her phone every few days and can do surprise checks. She had to cut off all her friends and can only have new ones if he approves them. She has tracking apps on her phone and air tags on her car, purse, and even in her running shoes. She does all the housework. Meanwhile, he has given himself a free pass to sleep with other people. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him it sounded like he was punishing her, not rebuilding their marriage. He shrugged it off and said she deserved it for what she did. I asked him if he even loved her anymore or if he hated her. Because from what he was describing, it sounded like he stayed married just to make her life miserable. He got defensive and told me I didn't understand what it was like to be cheated on. But I do. I've been cheated on, and it was devastating. I separated, and now I'm happy because I didn't want to live in misery with someone I couldn't trust. I told him he wasn't just making her miserable, he was making himself miserable too. He is poisoning everything for both of them, and their child will be stuck in the middle. I asked him if he would prefer to separate, co-parent, and move on to find someone he could actually trust. I said it would be better than living in this constant resentment. He didn't want to hear it, and said I should mind my business. When we got to my parents' house, I asked to speak with my sister-in-law privately. I wanted to see if she was okay because this sounded awful. She broke down crying and admitted she feels trapped but is staying for their son. She begged me not to tell anyone, so I promised I wouldn't. Later, my brother found out we had talked, and he got furious. He accused me of protecting her and interfering in his marriage. My parents agreed with him and said I should have stayed out of it. They think she deserves everything she's getting for what she did. I feel like this is so toxic for everyone involved. No one deserves to live like this, not even someone who made a bad choice/decision. Their son is growing up in the middle of this disaster. I just don't see how this is good for anyone. Am I in the wrong for saying something? Should I have stayed out of it? Both are idiots. She could also ask for a divorce and move on. This way, all the little son learns is what mistrust, resentment, and hate in a relationship mean. And you are right, he's also punishing himself. He'd rather live in hate than move on and find peace and happiness. And his hate will follow their son's life. We all know that parents are the main cause of all the trauma in adult life. Everyone who goes to therapy figures out that their issues lie mostly in their childhood. And your parents also add to the boy's conflicted view of women. How will the boy respect women when all he sees is that they deserve to be punished? Even when you don't fight in front of the kids, enough studies show that kids can feel the thick air. He is destroying his son by staying in this environment. But yeah, let's live in the illusion that living with a person you hate is better for the child than living in peaceful households. Yeah, she definitely could. But she is also a coward, or else she would not have cheated. However, I do not know how safe my brother is at the moment. It would not surprise me if he had held something over her head, like child custody or something like that. She would not say more but hinted strongly at that. But I don't think I can quite believe either of them. They should just end things. Not the a-hole OP. Sister-in-law needs to move forward with divorce, and brother needs to move on and forgive her for his own mental health and his son. Maybe everyone could prioritize the child who will end up being the final victim of this mess. I don't think he has to forgive her, but he has to let go. He is also only hurting himself. Like one day he is going to wake up and hate her even more because he spent his life hating her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for dismissing my in-laws to attempts to convince me to follow their family baby naming traditions? My husband and I, both 20s, are expecting our first child, and we have decided not to follow his family tradition of using family first and middle names for our baby. We both have our reasons. I don't have a family. I was a foster kid. My birth family is terrible. I never found a forever family in the system. My husband said it would feel weird to pick from just his side, especially since the baby will already have his last name. He doesn't want it to seem like I'm unimportant. And I appreciate that because it does make me emotional when I think about having to say we named our kids after a family but only from his side. It would just add salt to the wound of being unwanted as a kid. My husband's reason is that he would be under tremendous pressure to choose names from his mom and stepfather's sides of the family rather than from his late dad's side. While he would prefer to use names from just his parents' sides, it would be a big deal to leave others out. This is especially sensitive because there was already some drama over our last name. His name was changed to his stepfather's last name when his mom remarried, but he changed it back as an adult. That was a very sore point for them, and he doesn't want to juggle their feelings when we're supposed to be naming the children as a couple, not based on his family's preferences. The news got out because a relative wanted to use the name of a recently deceased family member for their unborn child. Our baby is due first, and a relative wanted to check if we were planning to use the name. My husband said it was fine, but a relative kept asking if we might change our minds. My husband reassured them that we weren't using a family name at all. This was kept quiet for several weeks, but then the relative blurted it out during an extended family dinner. My husband's family acted like the world was ending. I know my in-laws feel strongly about this, but I thought their reaction was an overreaction. They tried to change our minds, and my husband's mom and stepfather were especially outspoken about how much it meant to them, and how they felt my husband should follow the tradition for the kids. I told them we were the parents and didn't want to, but that wasn't good enough, according to them. Over the holidays, they kept trying to approach me about it, and I said I was only talking names with my husband. They didn't give up and tried to convince me that it would be good for the baby and that I should want to use family names. I told them to give up because I wasn't listening and wasn't going to listen. They told me it was rude to dismiss them like that when they were only trying to be caring grandparents. They also said I should be grateful they want us to keep the tradition. My husband told them to leave me alone and we needed some space if they were going to keep acting like this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. This is a decision between you and your husband. Personally, even after the name is decided, I would not share it with anyone until after the birth. It will just result in more hounding/insults due to them not approving. Agreed. The constant "but we have traditions" pressure is a lot. At the end of the day, it's you and your husband's choice, no one else's. He said we were the parents and we didn't want to, but that wasn't good enough, according to them. Well, they're wrong. It's your choice. You have valid reasons for not wanting to follow their tradition, and even if you didn't, it wouldn't matter because you're the parents. I'm glad your husband is being supportive, and I hope his parents come to understand that it's not their decision to make. Only trying to be caring grandparents? BS. More like only trying to be controlling grandparents, not the a-hole. And doing it for the kids and it would be good for the baby. Like it's a name. You're not giving your kids a superpower. They will survive not having the same name as the rest of the family. They act like they paid for these names and trying to make sure they got their money's worth. I never thought of it that way, but you're not wrong. It would make more sense if people had to buy names and you wanted to get the most out of your money. Last story. Am I the a-hole for reminding my stepmother that she chose to not be a grandmother? My father married my stepmother when I was 20. She had 2 young teenagers at a time, whom I have always referred to as my step-siblings. However, because of our ages and the fact that I never lived with them, we were never particularly close, although we get along just fine. When I was 30, I had my first child, and I asked my stepmother what she wanted to be called by my son. She did not want to be any form of grandmother, and instead just wanted to be called by her first name. Let's call her Nancy. My 3 children are now young adults, and have never really had much of a relationship with Nancy, aside from seeing her as Gramps' wife. Everyone gets along fine, but she has never treated them as grandkids. That was her choice. Over the years, she has mentioned how she can't wait to be a grandmother. It's her dream. My step-siblings, Nancy's children, are both in committed long-term relationships and have chosen not to have children. I am now 53, remarried to a great guy with 2 children of his own, young adults. The oldest is getting married soon and can't wait to have kids. We were all chatting about this at Christmas, and I mentioned that I couldn't wait to be a grandma. We talked with my stepdaughter about what her mom wants to be called, what I'll be called, etc. My kids consider their step-siblings family and vice versa. We rarely even use the step part. I plan to treat all my grandkids the same, whether they are technically my step-grandchildren or not. Later in the day, I walked into the room where Nancy and my stepdaughter were chatting and overheard Nancy say how devastated she is that she never had any grandchildren and how it was something she had always dreamed of. My stepdaughter said, "I'm confused. Don't you have 3? Nancy responded and said, "No, they're not mine. They're my husband's." At that point, I spoke up and said, "They could always have been yours too, but you didn't want to be their grandma." Nancy didn't say much, just, "I know, but it's not the same." I then told my stepdaughter that it was all the same to me, and she hugged me. The next day, my dad called and said that I hurt Nancy's feelings, and that I should have said something way sooner if I wanted the kids to call her a form of grandma. I responded that it wasn't an issue for me, it was her choice. I was just pointing out that she could have had a role, and she chose not to. But I also mentioned that it hurt me that she now complains that she never had any grandchildren. Just a difference of opinion, I guess. Am I the a-hole here? Should I have just kept my mouth shut? I hate that I hurt her feelings, but I wanted to be clear to my stepdaughter that I didn't share the same feelings. My dad says that Nancy felt I was rude for calling her out, but I think I was just defending how it played out, and how I hope it plays out differently with my family. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Nancy made her choices and now she regrets them. If it's uncomfortable for her to be reminded of that, it's on her to deal with. As I often say, she booked that trip herself. Your stepdaughter is lucky, and so is your soon-to-be grandchild. When my mother met my father, she had 2 little boys. My grandma just considered them more people to love. This was my mom. I'm the black sheep of the family. She cut me off for getting pregnant too young, 21, saying she was too young to be a grandma, and didn't speak to me for 15 years. Now she's all, I can't wait for grandbabies. Then my golden child sister decided she's child-free. Suck it, Shirley.
Am I the a-hole for telling my female friend I don't care about her feelings? I'm getting married in 2 weeks. Last week was my bachelor party and several of my friends attended, women and men. During the party, one of my female friends, let's call her Kelly, got very drunk and confessed to me that she's not happy that I'm getting married and that she thinks my future wife is not a good match for me. She also confessed she's been in love with me since we were 21. Now we are 27. And that it hurt her feelings how I never realized and never did anything about it. Due to the fact that she was drunk, I completely ignored what she said and I was like, fine, okay, whatever, at that moment. I waited till she got sober to see if she'd say anything about this again. And 2 days after the party, she texted me and asked me if I thought about what she said. I told her to elaborate just to make sure she's talking about her confession. She was indeed talking about it, and I told her exactly what I thought. I told her I don't care what she thinks about me and my fiancé being a good match, and she's not the best judge of that since she claims to be in love with me. I also told her that I truly don't care about her feelings towards me and I don't know what she expected to achieve. She was shocked to see me responding like that, and she was like, you don't need to be rude about this. I replied telling her that of course I'll be rude. She's trying to ruin my wedding by thinking confessing to me will change anything. Told her to come back to reality and realize she's not playing in a movie and her confession is embarrassing. And instead of letting it go and blaming it on the alcohol, she pushed it and expected to see whether she'd actually have succeeded. I told her at this point I don't care about her at all. That girl apparently exposed me to our friends. She didn't tell them the whole story, and I had to explain to everyone what she really said and expected. My friends kept insisting that I acted like an a-hole, and just because I'm getting married, that gives me no right to invalidate my friends' feelings towards me. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I also want to clarify one thing. Kelly has not been a good person towards my fiancé at all, especially during our first years together. She only fixed her attitude after I had several fights with her regarding boundaries. Due to her fixed attitude, I believed she changed truly. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. She's had 6 years to tell you how she feels and decided right before your wedding was the right time? Time to unfriend Kelly and go no contact. Also, she was mad he didn't notice she was in love with him and do something about it? Girl, if a boy doesn't notice you're in love with him and then he falls in love with someone else, that means either A, he was never going to reciprocate your feelings no matter what, or B, you should have said something? Like back when it could have made a difference? As in before his freaking bachelor party. You do not get to be mad at someone for not reading your mind. Not ever. You do get to be mad at someone for puking nonsense all over you and your relationship right before your wedding. Not a-hole. Are you kidding me? How did this confession not result in you telling Kelly you have been in love with her as well but never revealed your true feelings, out of fear she would not reciprocate? Then you and Kelly fall into bed and you break off your impending nuptials. Oh, because that scenario is a BS bad storyline from a very crappy romance ever written and/or produced. Kelly sucks. She has no respect or care for you as a friend. A real friend would support you and keep their silly crush to themselves. A real friend would have told you of their feelings long before you were in a committed, loving relationship and heading towards marriage. And your friends back in Kelly suck also. Friend or not, we should not co-sign people's messed up behavior. You're not a-hole. I wish you and your fiancé a beautiful wedding and a long marriage filled with infinite love, laughter, and prosperity. This was a funny read. Thank you so much for the well wishes for the wedding. Genuinely confused as to why your friends thought that you needed to be nice to her in this situation. This isn't some time where you were both single and she was pouring her heart out. This was her attempting to blow up your wedding after being historically unkind to your fiancé. If you wanted to be with her, you would be with her. But if you're not, you're with your fiancé. Therefore, you were not invalidating her feelings. You were asserting yours. She was trying to invalidate your feelings and your wants by pulling this last-minute malarkey. You don't have to be rude. Shove off, girl. She disrespected you and your wife and inserted her drama during a time that is supposed to be exciting and blissful for you and your fiancé. What did she honestly expect to happen? Yeah, it sucks to watch someone you like be with someone else. But if you genuinely care for that person, you put on your big adult pants. Let it go, be happy for them, and move on to someone who is actually available. I tried to give her an out by letting it go after the bachelor party, and she decided to escalate the situation. Now she is dragging your mutual friends into her mess? No. Rudeness is exactly what you need to get through this woman. Revoke her invite and go no contact. Not stay home. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my son to leave my house after he announced his engagement? My son Adam's 24 best friend Carlos, 25, passed away over 2 years ago in a car accident. This loss completely devastated Adam to the point where he lost his job. They were like brothers, and our family have known his family for years, so we're also very devastated over this loss. Carlos left behind his girlfriend, their now 4-year-old son. We don't know his girlfriend too well, since he didn't bring her around much. They were on and off till their son was born. Adam told me that he had been seeing and taking care of Carlos's family's needs, which is great. We were glad he was stepping up to make sure that Carlos's family were getting help. Adam also got a new job, and we sort of had limited contact for a few months. He started visiting us lately and looked different in general. He is now more calm and smiles more often. It is even open to talk about Carlos without getting too emotional. I was relieved and happy for him. But last week, he contacted me and his dad and said he had something to tell us. He visited and brought Carlos's girlfriend and child with him. We had dinner and then all of a sudden, he told us that he and Carlos's girlfriend have started dating and announced their engagement there. I was in shock. I didn't expect this at all. I didn't know what to say, but I felt upset and shocked mostly. Adam noticed my reaction and asked what was wrong. I told him I never expected him to get with his best friend's partner, of all people, and talked about how bad this would look to Carlos's family who are close friends to ours. Carlos's girlfriend excused herself and her son to the bathroom, and Adam and I began arguing. He went on about how I upset his fiancé and that I should be supporting him, but I said that he should have told me, and that he shouldn't have got together with his best friend's partner, and perhaps use her grief to get her to date him. He acted shocked and called me unbelievable. That's when I asked him to leave my house. He got up and left with them. My husband said I messed up by making a scene and reacting the way he did. I went upstairs and stayed alone for an hour. It's been days and Adam hasn't called, and my husband kept trying to get me to speak to him, but I kept saying I needed time. You're the a-hole. It's been 2 years. The girlfriend is allowed to move on and find love again. I'm sure they grew closer in supporting each other, so this isn't surprising. Intimacy is not predatory. You accused your son of being manipulative and predatory without cause. You also made it seem shameful that she's moving on and not starting permanently a grieving widow, which I'm sure she's had to work through the emotions of already on her own. You behaved very badly to both of them. Right. They have something extremely big and important in common. By all accounts, her son is a decent stand-up guy. Why is she assuming he's done something horrible here? You're the a-hole. Not to mention, who else would Carlos want to be with this widow? I have specifically told my husband that if I pass away, that he should remarry, and if he can, he should marry a friend of mine or at least someone that he thinks I would be friends with. I want to get along with a second wife in the next life. This is an easy you're the a-hole. Carlos is dead. It's not like your son and a girlfriend are cheating on him. They probably both bonded through the grief of losing him. Is she supposed to stay single forever? Oh no. It's so terrible that your son and this woman bonded over a mutual loss and have fallen in love. And he decided that he wanted to continue to be in her and her child's life. Woe is you. You're the a-hole. Why are you so keen to find something wrong with his choice? It's not like the girlfriend is cheating. Carlos passed 2 years ago, not 2 days. Get over yourself and beg your son's forgiveness. You're the a-hole. Of all people. They're young, of similar age, and they shared a highly emotional thing. Didn't you suspect that this would draw them closer? It's beautiful that they found something positive in their lives and they'll never forget Carlos. I have friends where the exact same thing happened, and they're a strong, loving couple. I think you owe them an apology. I understand it might have taken you by surprise, but to not apologize now for your behavior would make you the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to resend mom my wedding invite after she gifted my wheelchair-bound, soon-to-be husband running shoes as a joke? I, female 29, met my fiancé, male 32, 2 years ago. He's wheelchair-bound, yes, but he's the most kind-hearted, generous person I've known. I'm not the prettiest or most intelligent one out there, but he accepts and loves me as I am. We met via group therapy because he lost his mom in the same accident that made him disabled. When he met my mom, I'm sorry this bit is hard for me to type out. He really hoped that he'd see her as his own, but she acted a bit rude towards him. She kept making jokes about him and teased him a lot. We arranged for a wedding that meets our budget. My fiancé's mom's death anniversary was last month. Mom joked about him being responsible for the accident, which created a dispute. I told Mom she'd have to apologize for making him cry, and she did. Then 2 weeks ago, she called asking if she could attend his birthday, and he told me to let her come. She came and was all loving and cheerful. She apologized for the past misunderstandings, and my fiancé was confused by her change of heart. We had a great time, till after dinner when she gave him a box saying this was her gift for his birthday. He opened it, and what we saw was a pair of Nike running shoes. He looked at her, and she started laughing, then said something about being optimistic and hoping he'd use them one day. I lost it, and we both started yelling at each other with her saying it was just a joke. I said this was utter humiliation, because she was basically rubbing it in his face that he is how he is. My fiancé said it was okay, but I had her step outside to talk. She kept arguing, saying she didn't mean for this to play out like that, and that he was being too sensitive and could use more therapy because his reaction should have been to laugh. I said she's no longer welcome to the wedding. She acted shocked, saying I was really taking this too seriously, but I insisted that she send back the invite. My dad joined us and begged that I take time to calm down and not make a decision I might regret later. She got into the car and was crying. Dad said we'd talk later, but I said nothing to talk about after she insulted my fiancé in front of my friends. Dad then got into the car and left. The birthday party got awkward, which led to guests leaving early. Dad kept calling me after I got the invite back to try to act like a mediator between us and got the family involved. They said this is my mom, and while she might have done something that was seen as offensive, excluding her from the wedding is too much, and asked me to resend her the invite so we could get this over with, but I kept saying no. Now for the comments. Not a-hole. I still can't get past the fact that she joked about being responsible for his mother's death. Yes, she could have started this with, my mom's a monster. Not a-hole OP. I fear the statement is correct, and it's a fact that it's your mother that is in need of therapy to find out why she's so actively toxic, and maybe your father to root out why he is accepting of it. My soon-to-be husband's mom's death anniversary was last month. Mom joked about him being responsible for the accident which created a dispute. Joked? Haha, you killed your mother. Is a joke? I would have cut her off after that one, and kept my husband away from her going forward. Just because she's your egg donor doesn't mean you have to have a relationship with her. Some people don't deserve it. Not a-hole. My only concern here is how you spoke about yourself. Firstly, it sounds like you have self-esteem issues, and that's likely from your mom. Your husband using a wheelchair doesn't make him less, and he isn't settling for you. He loves you, and you him. I wish you every happiness. Your mom has had a lot of opportunities to behave and improve her choices, and she hasn't. She isn't sorry and I hate to think of her behavior on the day. No attitude change would be no invite, and continued clear boundaries. That said, people who use wheelchairs can still have cool shoes, and had she not made the jokes, I'd consider it a good gift. Completely agree, especially with the first paragraph. He is not with you because he accepts that you're not the prettiest or most intelligent out there. He's with you because he loves you. And you don't have to ever make excuses why you are with him either. Wishing you both a lifetime of mother-free happiness. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for wearing all white to my best friend's wedding and refusing to apologize? My 30 female best friend, 32 female, invited us, husband and I, to go on vacation with them at South Padre Island. She told me to bring the dress I wore to my last anniversary dinner for the special dinner/event she planned during the vacation. I said sure. I also recently gave birth, and that dress is an elegant black lace over nude dress that is very classy, but also form-fitting. When I tried it on when packing, I realized it wasn't as flattering and my boobs had a hard time fitting. So I packed a cute semi-formal white lace dress instead. I figured it was close enough. I arrived to the event and found out it was a surprise wedding where she only invited like 20 guests on the beach. She hadn't told me it was her wedding because of an inside joke. I kept telling them to get married and watch that they will elope. The next thing we know, they are married. She was horrified, and so was I. I didn't bring any other dress. Plus, there was no time to change/buy new dress. Also, surprise, I'm the maid of honor. I offered to either not be the maid of honor or leave the wedding, but she rather me not. Later, she blamed me for ruining her wedding because I didn't follow her instructions to wear a specific dress and didn't tell her about changing my mind. I said I'm sorry her wedding was ruined, but it wasn't my fault, and she should have told me it was her wedding. And at the time of packing, I didn't find it appropriate to get her approval on my outfit. Lol. Came here fully prepared to call you the a-hole, but you literally didn't know it was a wedding. It's a shame for the bride, but that's a risk you take when you pull a surprise like that. Not the a-hole. 100% agree with this. The bride didn't foresee any potential problems with her surprise. This is an important lesson for her about expectations versus reality. It makes me sad that she thinks you ruined the wedding because you wore white to a surprise. To me, a wedding is ruined if like the groom doesn't show up. You're not a-hole at all, and if they're happily married, you didn't ruin a thing. A real friend would be like, you remember the time you showed up to my surprise wedding wearing white? And we all have a laugh about it for years. My new sister-in-law came to see me as I was getting dressed for my wedding. She was wearing the exact same dress as the one I brought to change into before leaving the reception. We thought it was hilarious and made sure we got lots of pictures together. What made it even funnier was that we had each other described our dress to the other prior to the wedding, but apparently neither of us did a great job at that. I really think about half of the posts on this subreddit could be solved with this attitude. Don't people know a good story when they see one?